So we're up and running. So here we are. We made it through Luke chapter 6 finally, and we're at Luke chapter 7. Kind of a short, concise chapter, but nice enough set of facts that I think we handle it separately from all of the other chapters. The gospel just has so much stuff in it that, when we're in the epistles of Paul, we can cover 2 or 3 chapters at a time, which we have. But the gospel, you pretty much think a chapter at a time at best. Half a chapter to a chapter is at best. On Tuesday, you didn't go to the Love Fest on Tuesday, right? Okay, so there we have it. All right. So there's probably like 6 different sections that Luke is subdivided into, and we're gonna go ahead and let Ingrid lead us off with the first set of verses. But before we do that, Ben, why don't you just go ahead and open us up in prayer real quick.
Lord, we're so grateful for this opportunity on this rainy Miami evening to come here for such precious fellowship, to hear your word. Please inspire her, please inspire us, please open our hearts and open our ears so we may, as fully as humanly possible, understand your word, that we may then share it, pass it on. In Lord Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Nice prayer. Yes, sir. Absolutely. We all need inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. So you guys are my inspiration. And so it's exciting because, I was thinking, it's raining, just like a nice night to sleep in or something like that. But I was like, well, I get to go fellowship with the saints, and we can gather together in a little room and discuss the Word of God like they were doing it in the first century. First century, I was having a discussion. I don't know whether Ben and I were talking, who I was talking, maybe it was you, Steve. There wasn't, a place to go to, right? You didn't like, it's raining, and let's not go to fellowship hall tonight or whatever.
So you didn't have a condo in South Beach.
So, it's not like, I don't want to get into the station wagon and drive over to the, to the temple to have, service tonight. You were meeting in people's homes anyway. So you just gather together, and, since they were friends with one another, they wanted to see each other anyway. And if they're walking the life of Christ, there's probably some adversity going on in their life because it cost something then to be a Christian, because they were, real Christians, as opposed to the westernized form of pseudo-Christianity that seems to be dominant here in the United States at this day and age. You would need to see your Christian friends every now and again, every few days, for encouragement to make it through. You never guess what happened at work today. The Romans tried to show up and they tried to arrest me and kill me for being a follower of Christ, but the Lord delivered me from out of it. So when you have that kind of environment that you're living your day-to-day existence in, your fellowship, which was at least once a week, if not more, back in the days of Paul and Peter and those guys after the resurrection of Jesus, you would certainly need at least once a week to get together, to be encouraged in the Word and things of that nature. So,
And we're coming back to the time when the Romans will be knocking on the door again.
Yeah, I think, what has been will be again. It seems that there's nothing new under the sun, Solomon wrote. And it seems to be that is the case, because we are certainly getting towards that point. I saw that season 2 of I Am Jazz started out, and since it's in my DVR, it popped up on my TV set. And I just couldn't stop myself, so I had to watch it again, just so I could be more outraged. And it's so sad, and I was thinking, last season, what a loser this little kid is. He was last year, he was in 8th grade, and I think this year he's starting high school. And then, as I watched it last night, and for those out in Cyberland, it's a show about some kid up in Boca Raton who was at the age of 4 decided he was a girl and not a boy, and so his mom started dressing him like a girl from the age of like 3.5, 4 years old onward. And that's exactly the conclusion I came to last night, because this is actually a fairly wealthy, affluent family up. It's either Palm Beach or Boca Raton, but they live in a sort of like near the water, right off the intercoastal, and all the privileges of life. And so this season starts out where the kid, who was actually a boy and has a sister and 2 brothers, but who's been living as a girl since the age of 4 or whatever, because the mom says, oh, well, she's always wanted to be a boy, a girl, so we just started to dress her like one. So it turns out, I guess, that to prevent her, and it's amazing to see the difference between season 1, which ended in, when did season 1 end, Steve?
Last year.
Since this is summertime TV, I think season 1 probably ended in like January or something like that. And season 2 starts now in May, June, so like I think it was a 6-month break or whatever. But the difference in the physiological makeup of this kid is palpable. Because, you got like 6 months to a year where you got a 12 or 13-year-old boy growing into a 14-year-old boy. And so what they've had to do,
drugs and hormones.
That's exactly how the show started. It started out at the doctor's office. And they were like, well, we've got to block the testosterone. In other words, what you see, and they've got like a special doctor that's volunteering his time. That's not the regular primary care physician you made clear on the show last night. He's a gay man, and so of course he has his own agenda that he's promoting. This transgenderism is an agenda that's being promoted. So the doctor, the cameras from TLC are in the doctor's office, of course, because you always want to broadcast your meeting with the doctor, talking about your endocrine system, and broadcast that on television. So the cameras are in there, and the kid's mom, the 14-year-old boy who is acting and dressing like a girl, and the doctor. And, he's talking with her, we need to, we're going to have to use a higher increase in the estrogen injections to block the testosterone. In other words, the hormonal makeup that God implanted into the genetic code of this human being is being thwarted by this gay man who happens to have a medical degree. Why that's not malpractice, I don't understand. And certainly, it's child abuse for you to have subjected your preteen kid to that over the course of years. But now it's not even working, so they have to increase the amount of estrogen. And anybody that knows anything about estrogens know, phytoestrogens and the like are highly carcinogenic, by the way. And that's why a lot of women end up with cervical cancer and things of that nature for whatever reason. As hormones go, estrogen is much more closely related to the higher incidence of cancers than testosterone. And what a world we live in. Maria Sharapova, who's like one of the world's most famous tennis players, very pretty Russian girl, was just suspended from the Olympics for 2 years because she's been using testosterone and different blood doping things. So she's doping herself with male hormones to make her stronger and faster, bigger and better, so she can beat all the people in the Olympics and make lots of money. And this boy is bombarding himself with estrogen, which is female hormones, so that he can grow. And I can barely make myself say it. So his breasts will grow, and his hips will get bigger. And he's like, my breasts, they're getting bigger, but they don't look like it. It's just, this is a 14-year-old boy, with all the insecurities and issues we have to deal with as a kid.
14-year-old kid.
I remember being
never
14.
do that again.
I was like, I remember how hard that was just trying to deal with with the body God gave me without having to dial up another one out of a bottle of wickedness. So the kid is saying, my breasts are getting bigger, but then they don't look like, the models on TV. I want them to look like, and it's so sad. He's got like this idea in his mind that he's going to look like, I don't know, some Victoria's Secret supermodel, when he takes these female hormones. And he's disappointed. And then there's an aside where the kid is talking and he's saying, this is a 14-year-old boy, and he's saying, and they're talking about how the increase in the level of the estrogen hormone injections that the kid is subjected to make his breast grow have caused a predictable and obvious side effect, which is depression. And they talk about, women, that time of the month, women can be like, don't mess with me, I'm having my period. Why is that? Because there's an increase of estrogen in the bloodstream. And estrogen makes you emotionally volatile. And so, you've got kind of that old rubric of sort of the stereotype. Like women are way more, emotionally unstable than guys, and that's why they shouldn't be in position. And people kind of poo-poo that as if it was just all make-believe and that it doesn't really happen, but really it does happen in real life. And so not only has the kid become more emotionally volatile as a result of these artificial hormone supplements, but it's triggered like severe depression, which is something women go through postpartum and women go through when they hit menopause because the estrogen levels fluctuate. And so you've got a teenage boy who's encountering this, and it's so severe that he's now on antidepressants. And for him to, the narrative, guys was put on antidepressants this year to counteract the depressive effect of the estrogen supplements that have been
crazy.
And I'm sitting here thinking, like, how come the Division of Child and Families in the state of Florida, that's always in my midst with my clients and, cases, and they're always sticking a guardian ad litem in my face trying to, like, mind your own business stuff, and the court are always appointing a lawyer to do something whenever, a husband and wife have a dispute. But yet you've got this teenage boy who is basically being poisoned with highly toxic female hormones that's caused him to become suicidal. And now he's on antidepressants in addition to the estrogen, and he's only 14 years old. And so he's bombarding himself with highly toxic drugs to promote this wicked fantasy, Ben.
Yeah. Just one silver lining, there's actually a brave group of doctors. It's the American Pediatric or Pediatrician Association.
Okay.
Actually called transgendering children child abuse.
Wow,
We'll
man.
see how long they survive as a professional organization given the culture, but they bravely stood up and told the truth.
Did they really? How'd you hear about that?
I was just a couple of weeks
in
ago.
the news or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to look into that because I'll tell you, it clearly shows you there's got to be some kind of agenda. If this had happened in the 50s or the 60s, you think the doctor would be, lose his license, for subjecting a child to these types of drugs simply to fulfill a 3-year-old kid's fantasy. I want to be a mermaid. No, I want to be a princess. Well, I got to be a girl to be a princess. Mommy, I want to be a girl. And so the mother's like, yeah, we're going to make you a girl. And when you're 9 years old, we're going to start giving you hormone supplements so you can start transitioning. And then they had some town hall meeting, and it turns out that the mom has a publicist, and they've already published a book, I Am Jazz, about the struggles of a transgender teen. And so you can see that it's really, there's a monetary factor attached to it. And now it's like
throwing the baby into the fire.
Yeah.
For money.
So you see that there's a monetary component. I know this is an aside, but we have to. We comment on the culture we live in just to show you how close we are. I'm convinced to the rapture of the church, the return of the Lord for the church, because the wickedness is palpable and almost staggeringly unbelievable. What is that verse that says, the wickedness of the Amorites has not yet come to the full, but as soon as it is, then judgment falls. And I think the wickedness of the Amorites in the form of the American Medical Association and the courts and the systems here in the United States is almost to the full, where God is going to have to intervene. But this poor kid now, so instead of me thinking of him as the bad guy like I did last year, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is a kid. This is a kid who needs direction and love and comfort and support. When you were a preteen, I'm sure you had issues. I had issues as a preteen, struggled with all kinds of stuff. And you just you think you're a loser one day, and the next day you think whatever, and you want to be a superhero. I want to fly, and so the laws of gravity. I could say the laws of gravity don't apply when I jumped off the bar in the backyard of my parents' house. I would be actually for a limited period of time kind of flying through the air, but gravity always pulled me down to the ground every time. So this kid can say he's not a boy, but the reality is that he is. And so they have this town hall meetings that the publicist set up, and supposedly one of the conservative Christian groups was supposed to come and debate against the kid, the publicist, and the mom. And they were in strategy, it's going to be very tough for them to win the debate when they have to confront like a 14-year-old child. There's no way the public's going to be with them when the child. And so at the last minute, I think it was the Heritage Council, one of the conservative political religious groups, they at the last minute said, we're not doing it, because they were smart enough to know that they were being set up for a fall. And so the publicist was like, man, we got the crowd here, let's just go for it anyway. And you can see the publicist has stuff, dollar signs in their eyes, like, we got a crowd, we got TLC cameras, let's just do it. And people in the audience, They were standing and they were like, how is this not an abomination? You know, it was amazing how the people stood up and said, this is wickedness, this is abusive. How is this child not a freak?
Yeah.
And the cameras and the way TLC, which produces the Lifetime channel, which is a cable network, tried to spin it to make the people speaking out against it look like an evil bully or whatever. But the reality is, people still know right from wrong in their hearts. And even though the producers tried to slant the show to make the Christian evangelical conservatives look like the bad guys, it was clear that, you know, this is what the average American person still thinks. Like, how is this not a freak of nature if you're bombarding a kid with hormones to make them, you know, pretending to be a boy? And they referred to him as boy. And the mother was like, I think that's outrageous that you would dare to refer to Jazz as a boy when he's a girl, you know, or she's a girl. Like, but even this kid said in the car driving over to the debate, what if they approach me like, because the publicist is telling them, like, answer this. When they ask you this, say this. And the kid is smart enough to say, yeah, but what if they come at me from the biological angle? Like, the kid's smart enough to know, like, look, we can do all the politicking we want, and we can use the political correctness. What if somebody says something about my chromosomes? Yeah. And I was like, even the 14-year-old kid is smart enough to know that, look, you got an XY chromosome and a functional penis, and if you have sexual intercourse with a female, I don't care how old she is, if she's over the age of 12, she's going to get pregnant, and you're going to be a father. Whether you call yourself that or not. Isn't that right? If that's true, you are a man. You are a boy. And so I think the publicist told me, well, just kind of, you know, work around it or ignore the answer or whatever. But I sat there watching this, and I was thinking, what in goodness name am I watching? This is happening in the United States of America, not 40, 50 miles from where we live every day here in Miami. This is like right up the road from Miami. So this isn't in some faraway third world country. This isn't, you know, some dystopic novel written by George Orwell about what might be the case in 2350. This is happening now. And it was shocking and staggering, and it was just sad when I saw that this kid, who's as a side result of the estrogen and other depression, so the kid's on antidepressants now, but because the estrogen also, for whatever reason, causes, you know, fat cells to generate, so that, you know, women who are childbearing have more fat cells than men and all that. And I was saying that, you know, with regard to a friend of mine who told me, you know, hey, you should replace soy in your diet for your protein, because I'm a vegan, and replace with quinoa. And I was like, why? He said, well, because soy turns into estrogen. And sure enough, man, I noticed that, you know, once the soy had been replaced with quinoa, it's like, even though I was eating more, I got leaner and more muscular and stronger in the gym, just by replacing out the soy, which is really estrogen hidden in the food cycle in the United States, but it's never, I mean, if you picked up a box of Captain Crunch, you saw estrogen was included, you would eat it. If you're a guy, you're like, I'm gonna eat this. If you're a girl, you wouldn't eat it either because you don't want to get cancer. So they hide it, and the FDA doesn't tell us what they call soy or soy supplements is really estrogen in disguise. And when you eliminate the estrogen and replace it with a different source of even non-animal protein, such as quinoa or, you know, brown rice hull, you automatically, or you tend to become stronger and leaner. And so now this kid has dramatically changed over the course of 6 months from last season to this season. Now the kid is fatter and unhappy, like, oh, I'm fat and I got floppy looking breasts that don't look like the sexy Victoria's Secret girls that I want to be like. And it's because he's being poisoned with these hormonal supplements, and that nobody is doing anything or saying anything. And this is on television. Nobody's lost their license. There's no lawsuit. There's no advocacy group has stepped up and been, thank goodness. She said, at least there's a doctor's group who has said this is child abuse. But unless somebody with legal authority, like the Justice Department of the United States or the state of Florida Division of Child and Family Services, steps in and says, you can't do this to this kid. We're going to institute an investigation. It's going to continue and nothing can be done. And so I just think that's my 15-minute soapbox.
You know, just a question. You know, that's that's good what you just said. Imagine yourself, this happened in the USA, okay? I can't imagine that this happened in one African country, no matter which one, and let's say the kids want to be a dog. No, I mean, going extremes. The kid wants to be a dog, and parents say, okay, let's treat you like a dog. And camera comes, move that, put that on TV.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? They say this third country civilization, they treat the kid like a dog, and there are everything you're gonna hear everything negative that this country, this everything the politics is just behind, retarded, and a lot of things. But so the balance between doing that here, the way you treat the kids, because I mean it's kid treatment that we're talking about right now, and because there is money behind, because there is TV, because there is sponsors, because there is marketing, because there is publication, then it's accepted.
Media.
Well, I think that really what's behind it, beyond all that money and all this, I think it's just all the superficial surpluses. Really, what's behind it is the God of this world, the prince of the air. Satan is what's behind it. Because you can make money doing anything. You could make a show, there's shows on TV that reality shows are getting commercial. Oh, we're selling commercials or whatever. I don't think they're doing it because it's just overwhelmingly popular with the American public. And that town hall that was held up there and it was aired on TLC showed that most of the people there were like, this is horrific. We're not in favor of this. But it's promoting an agenda. And people talk about, the military industrial complex and, the powers that be, they're greedy and they put out these evil movies from Hollywood and music industry and sex and occult oriented because they want to make money. They don't want to make money. Satan has all the money in the world, right? Jesus was confronted by Satan, and what did Satan say to him? He said, kingdoms of the world, all of them are mine, and I give them to whom I will. And if you bow down and worship me, I'll give them to you. And I know that's what you're here for anyway. And Jesus didn't say, that's not true. The kingdoms of the world aren't yours. All the wealth of the world isn't yours. And you can't give it to whoever you want to. He conceded that Satan was correct. Satan controls all of the kingdoms of the world, and all the wealth of the world is his to manipulate and use howsoever he wishes. And so I don't think this is a question of generating income. Now, what he does is he gets you or me or, the poor puppets in the entertainment industry to sign on for his luciferic tomfoolery by offering, fame and fortune, a gold record, an Emmy, a Grammy, your name in lights. And people look, okay, sign me up. You gotta drink baby's blood. Can I get 2 Grammys? Yep. Okay, I'll do it. And so money is used as the lure to get us to betray the God that created us. But it isn't done to generate money for the powers that be or for Satan and his kingdom. He doesn't need money for the coming battle of Armageddon. What he needs is bodies. He needs the human genome. And that's why demonic possession is so important, because we have physical bodies because we were intended by God to have dominance and control over the planet Earth. Satan, who's a spirit, doesn't have a physical body to permanently rule and reign in if he wants to be the king of this world, which is a physical particulate world, which is different than the spirit world. When we talk about particle physics and theoretical physics, we realize that even the secular scientists agree that there is a multiverse, in that we live in a physical particulate material universe, but that there are other dimensions, they call it, or different universes that are not particulate, not subject to the laws of physics that govern the physical planet Earth. And that's why the theoretical physicists are searching for the theory of everything that explains how particulate matter on the planet Earth works together with the cosmology. Why do the planets spin around in the circles that they do?
Here's the theory of everything.
There you go. Why do the electrons spin around the nucleus of an atom and all of that stuff? And so even the secular humanists and secular scientists would agree that there's more than just the physical universe. But what Satan needs, he doesn't need money. He needs bodies for soldiers. And I think that's what's behind this whole push towards transhumanism, which is kind of related to transgenderism. I think that what the Bible makes clear from Genesis chapter 3 onward, Genesis 1, 2, and 3, clearly denotes or demarcates the man's role as that of being the physical representation of God himself on the planet Earth, which was created for man to glorify and serve God. And so Adam, the original man, was created, the Bible says, in the image of God. He was given dominion and authority over the entire planet Earth. He could name all the animals. He could do all the stuff. God brought the animals from Adam. What do you want to call him? I'm going to call that an orangutan. Okay, that's his name then. What about this? It's going to be
Aardvark.
Aardvark. Aardvark? Really? Yeah, that's what the name. Okay, we're going to call you Aardvark. You know, and so God let Adam name all of the animals. Why? Because he wanted Adam to have a role in the authority. God gave him intelligence and free will, and he was like, now, kid, let me see you use it. Name all the animals for me. And whatever you name them, that's their name. And so Adam did it. And Satan sees this, and he is the anointed cherub that covers, but he's a spirit being. And he sees this new entity, the likes of which there isn't another in the universe like Adam. Right? Because the Bible says when man was created, even the angels, they all looked on in astonishment and awe, like, oh, what is this thing that God has created? He's created an entity, a being in his own image, which angels, nowhere in the Bible does it say the angels were created or in the image of God. But as regards to the man, created in the image of God. And so Satan, who was Lucifer at the time, sees this new entity. And I think that part and parcel of this long war against God was initiated because of what? Envy. Satan sees this new entity. He's like, I used to be the number 2 guy in the universe. Wait a minute, I was the most powerful, glorious, beautiful, created being in the universe. He was, right? There's no other angel in the heavens that could compare to him, you know. But then when he sees this new entity, who is not an angel at all, but is a different type of entity called a man, he's something new. And I think it was at this point that Satan's envy and pride was like, I'm not going to let some new guy come along and take my place. I deserve to be worshipped. I'm powerful. I'm glorious. When I show up, the angels they're all awestruck because I make music play and beautiful lights shine. As soon as I walk in the room lights up. Not even lights up, but an orchestra plays. Can you imagine what it would be like every time you walked in the room, Ben? There would be like da-da-da, you know, and the Boston Symphony Orchestra would play some glorious aria, you know, and light would radiate out of everybody. We'd be like, damn, oh.
Happens all the time.
Right? You know how it is. Right? So you know how addictive that can be, right? So that was Lucifer's thing. And so when Adam came along, he threatened that because now here was a new entity that was even more glorious. And I think he saw down through the corridors of time, the man was created not to float on a cloud, sprout wings, grow a halo, and become an angel. And I don't know where this sort of middle-aged medieval myth came from, but I remember like it being foisted upon me as a kid, even when I was first going to Sunday school. If you're a good kid and you obey your parents and you don't do bad things like, you know, beat up the next door neighbor's dog or torture cats and stuff like that, when you die, you get to go to heaven and become an angel and get your angel's wings. You float around heaven. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go to heaven. And, you know, I was thinking about wings and I was like, that doesn't seem like that would be a lot of fun.
After about 10 minutes.
Flying around in the clouds with wings, and, like in a row with like a Rubenesque beer belly or whatever. It didn't seem that exciting, but I didn't want to go to hell, so I was like, I'll take it. You know. But then I found out that that's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that man's destiny is not to become an angel, but to rule and reign over the angels alongside Jesus Christ as the image of God, the authority of God. And so that then became the object of Satan when he approached Eve in the Garden of Eden and why he seduced her and caused her to fall. Because he knew he didn't have the authority or the power to have a direct confrontation with the man who was the image and the authority of God and would have been rebuked by Adam. I don't think there's any question that Adam would have punched him in the face when he made him the offer. But he could approach the wife with a unique approach. Hey, you know what? you're getting shortchanged. You know, that contract you just signed with the Dallas Cowboys, let me tell you, you shortchanged your value, my friend. See, if I was your agent, I would have negotiated a much better deal for you. You should be the one whose name is at the top of the marquee, Adam. I mean, does he have your glory and beauty? I mean, when you walk in the room, I mean, is there any other woman on earth as beautiful as you? No, there wasn't. There were no other woman on earth, but you know what? I mean, she was, without question, she's the prettiest girl on earth. And so Satan was convinced her that your name should be on the marquee. You should be a goddess. All you need is a little more knowledge of how to. And I can get that for you. See that tree right there? That's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You eat of that, your eyes will be open, and I can work with you. I can show you all the things that God, he's been holding out. Why? Because he knows you're better than that guy, Adam. And as soon as you get that missing component, the knowledge that God has cheated from you, you'll ascend to goddesshood. Would you like to be a goddess? Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Okay, well then eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and I can help you on your way. Well, God said that God's a liar. He knows that in the day that you eat thereof, you'll become like God, knowing good and evil, which was technically true. Yeah. But then he didn't tell her that you'll also inherit eternal death and spend eternity in the lake of fire. So he kept that part in the fine print in the contract, which she didn't read, and she just signed it like goddess. Heck yeah, I get my own show. Get your own, you know, the Oprah Winfrey show. Eve, you know, she was the first Oprah. So she signs on the dotted line, boom, he's met. On the condition now, this is a contingent contract. In the next 48 hours, it will be revoked unless you get your man to sign on the dotted line, because he's got to grant his imprimatur, like if you're selling a house, like, look, both of you guys' name is on the lease, so you got to get his signature on there. And he just doesn't like me. He doesn't understand me. I can't communicate with him like I can with you. If I go to him and ask him to sign on the dotted line, I know how that's going to end, and it's going to cheat you out of your opportunity at goddesshood. You got 72 hours to get him to sign on as well. I have to revoke the offer. You think you could do that? Do you think that that's something you might be able to answer? Don't you worry, Lucifer. You leave it to me. I know how to convince Adam. I know what boys like, and I know how to get them to do it. And so we have, at the very inception of the Bible, the entire war of the sexes begins right there on the pages of Genesis chapter 3. The long war against God and the battle of the sexes start at the same time right in Genesis chapter 3. And have we not seen that play itself out in every century, every decade, every year since that? In the 70s, Billie Jean King versus Bobby Riggs. In the Battle of the Sexes, that was the big tennis match. You know, of all times, it was like this. It was like Ali Frazier on the tennis court. And of course, Billie Jean King beat him and made him look stupid, and he looked like some old fuddy-duddy. And of course, he was like 80 years old at the time. And, you know, she was on, as it turns out, you know, testosterone and hormones and all that stuff as well, which gave her masculine appearance, just like
Navratilova.
Oh, that's Martina Navratilova. If you wanna prove how chemicals can change, how Satan has attacked the image of man, look at I Am Jazz and see what the hormones, the estrogen, has done to that boy. Then, if you want to reverse it, take a look and see what the testosterone does to the girls. And you take a look at Martina Navratilova, who was an Eastern European, where was she from, Steve? Czechoslovakia, maybe? Czechoslovakia, right. Okay, and so she took male testosterone home. If you look at her at the very beginning of her tennis career, when she first started getting nationally ranked, probably in the early 70s maybe, mid-70s maybe, she was kind of a chubby, chunky, she was like the average kind of, you know, chick that went you with ice cream. Kind of chubby, kind of fat face, flabby thighs, whatever. And then after a couple years on the male hormone replacement therapy, she turned into this lean, hardened, muscular machine, and she destroyed Say that again?
Chris Evert Lloyd.
Yes, Chris. Right. She was America's sweetheart because she still looked like a girl. Remember her?
You could look at
Remember that? They used to battle against each other. It was Martina Navratilova, the evil Eastern European Soviet bloc man-woman, that was doing the blood doping and taking steroids and male supplements against the beautiful sweetheart Marsha Brady-looking. Chris Everett. Before she got married, she was just Christy Everett, and she was the girl next door with the blonde hair, and she looked like a normal girl, and everybody loved her because she was the sweet girl next door, and she won, but she didn't do anything chemically to change the way she looked. So, you wanted to pull for Chris Everett Lloyd, but when she played against Martina, the woman, she was destroyed, and she didn't just get defeated; she got destroyed, and the only the next best example of that would be a middle distance sprinter from the mid to late 70s, early 80s. She ran the 800 and the 400. Actually, she ran the 2, 4, and the 800, probably from the 76 Olympics through the 80, 84 Olympics. Jarmila Kratakbilova. If you want to Google something, go ahead and Google Jarmila, Jarmila, Kratakbilova, Kratochvilova, Kratakbilova, and look at some of the shots of her. From her, she set the world record in like the 800 and 400 meters. And when you look, I don't know, pull her up on the phone there, Ingrid. When you look at some of the shots of her, because you can pull up the Google images, you'll see Jarmila Kratakbilova. She looked like Walter Payton in a pair of panties. I mean, she had muscle mass and leanness that if you cut her head off, let's see, Ingrid, can we put this on? Let's see if we can. Unfortunately, we're frozen. Frozen for a while. Maybe just the screen is stuck, but we're still broadcasting. So, man, that.
No, let's see. I'm gonna shut it to the side.
Okay.
Just to make sure.
Technical hiccup, right?